Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the I'll Try That podcast. I'm joined this week by Barber and Drabbers.
Hello.
And we're taking a trip to Catalonia in Spain to taste one of the oldest Spanish beers, Estrella Damm. But first, Rich, you've got a bit of a hot topic for us.
Yeah, I've got a hot topic. So I was doing a bit of research into what I could bring to the podcast, and this is probably the most up-to-date bit of hot topic news because it only got dropped 23 minutes ago online.
Coming to you live.
He goes live at the scene, Richard Trabwell.
I'll tell you what, I wish I was live at the scene of this one though. So I'll give you the news title. So it's Hawaii stream that smells like beer found to have 1.2% ABV.
Behave yourself. There's a beer stream in Hawaii.
There's a beer stream
Right.
in Hawaii.
Right, get me on a flight.
I'm not too sure what kind of beer it is, but I'm assuming heavily watered down.
yeah. It's well, hang on. Well, how does this happen? You can't just. It's not, someone had an illegal supply and they had to get rid of it at the last minute and just dumped it in the water. How did this come about?
So it was a hiker was out on a hike. Surprise, surprise. And he stumbled across a stream that stunk or smelt particularly strongly of beer. He then went and reported it to the authorities, and they did a test on it. And it turns out that it had 1.2% ABV, so alcoholic water, in essence, running down this stream. But it turns out it was coming from a storm pipe, and there had been a pipe breakage at the Paradise Beverages in one of the warehouses and liquor and beer warehouse on the other side of the nearby highway. And basically that had been being pumped through this crack into the storm drain, which then had been fed into this river, which then gave it... That then gave us an alcoholic river.
Oh dear. So I can't help myself but chuckle at it a little bit. That does actually sound like quite a bad ecological situation, really, doesn't it?
That sounds like pollution at its highest cause.
Yeah. I was hoping that it might have been something more miraculous and wonderful. I don't know enough about the water cycle, but just that in Hawaii they might have like beer rain clouds and it rains beer or something like that. And that's
well, they say Hawaii is a magical place.
Indeed, definitely. But so it was a bit of a mix of things then. It was beer and spirits and all sorts. So quite a potent cocktail.
Bit of everything.
I guess
God, I imagine that brewery or that just whoever's making that leak, that pollution, is probably going to get a hefty fine, perhaps, for ecological damage.
I thought so, because that's also got to be. I don't know how big the stream was, but you'd imagine it's going to have to be quite a lot to get it up to 1.2% ABV.
Oh yeah.
Do you reckon there were loads of drunk animals?
Well, I mean, it's going to do some serious damage to the environment. I don't know what the full ripple effects of that would be, but I mean, I'd like to think that, I mean, you hear these stories of certain animals like boars and kind of eating fermenting apples, and they get quite drunk off that, and use hilarious anecdotes of them tottering around and things like that. You obviously nothing too serious you want to have happen, but it'd be quite funny to see a drunk boar out of its own natural means, eating fermented fruit.
I don't know why I can't think of now any like native animals to Hawaii as well, but a boar seems like a potential thing. I'm imagining sort of birds of paradise as well there.
Yeah, maybe they have great parrots, the ones that talk, the really, really clever ones, and maybe when they get drunk they become really abusive.
Oh, they could be those, or they could be ones that go the other way. Oh, I love you, mate. You're the prettiest parrot I've ever seen.
There's just a sudden influence.
Start getting really deep and
just over or just parrots that compliment you more.
Parrots finding parrots attractive that they wouldn't normally find attractive.
They call him a 2-beer parrot.
Oh, come on, it would be a toucan, wouldn't it? Oh, yes! That's the joke of the episode. I'm glad we got that in early.
I like it. But on a slight side tangent to this, so you said that the hiker, there was a hiker who found this thing to have happened, right? Now, I never really trust, hikers, runners, because they're always the people that find these things, like, beer, the bodies, it's always this, it's always these people.
I think that's fair. Come on, mate, what have you really been up to?
Yeah. Also, as a hiker, you'd be like, wow, I found the magical beer stream.
Yeah.
And you'd just be like, I'm not telling anybody and I'm going to capitalise on this.
Either that, or I'm going to float out there the possibility that the first person to walk up to him was actually just quite gullible. As Joe suggests, maybe he was like burying something, hiding some evidence or whatever. And this guy comes up and says, what are you up to? And he was like, look over there. It's a stream that tastes of beer.
I mean, I have to say, like, just the elephant in the room, it couldn't taste very nice, this beer stream. Like, from what you've described, Rabs, it's leaking from a warehouse. Who knows what's actually coming out? It's probably not like pure form, the specific beer. It's probably a combination of different beers, maybe even spirits, and then polluting and going into a storm drain. That doesn't scream, bottle it. I can't wait to try this beer from the stream.
I'm not going to lie. I've probably drunk worse things.
Right.
Yeah, we did that whole episode on Carling, didn't we?
We've all been to uni. Yeah.
Did you just say we did that whole episode on Carling?
But I'm sorry, Carling, you get a lot of stick from me, and
yeah. Well, hopefully now they've identified the source, they can stem it and get the ecosystem back up on track. Because there's nothing more than we all want is to Hawaii to stay Hawaii and not have any more impact by humans than it already has done.
No, I just found myself at the end of that section saying, damn, and that's almost a graceful segue into our pursuit of happiness, isn't it?
That's right. So, as Barbara eloquently and smoothly transitioned us into, we're going to be talking about Estrella Damm that comes from Catalonia, or specifically Barcelona in Spain.
That's Barcelona for the rest of the listeners.
No, it's Barcelona. You have to pronounce it that way.
No, I can't top that. That was my
your accent of the day. So yeah, we're talking about Estrella Damm. As Joe said, it's brewed in Barcelona, which is definitely the better way to pronounce it like that. And it's been in existence in 1876. I'm going to absolutely butcher the man's name. When August Kunstensam Damm founded his brewery in Barcelona.
Yeah, but who was his founding partner of this brewery? He founded the brewery with his wife, Melanie Damm. So they were actually fleeing the Franco-Prussian War at the time. So over 140 years ago, they took the journey down to the Mediterranean coast where they selected to fulfill their dream of brewing beer. Now, how many other people have we talked about in recent years and in the past whose dream it was to brew beer? And this couple founded a brewery in Spain.
Yeah, we don't hear. I mean, we've heard particularly like brothers doing it, but I can't remember a time when we've had an occasion of a couple starting a brewery. And it does tend to be a sort of male-dominated career just anecdotally from what we've seen of a lot of other breweries we talk about.
Well, definitely, especially at that time, 1876, that's very male-dominated patriarchal society. So, hats off to Melanie for, breaking the 1876 glass ceiling.
So where did they go down to Barcelona from? I guess
Alsace, in the French border with Prussia.
With
you,
so that's hence the impact of the war, I suppose.
So that's where the Damm part of Estrella comes from. Is their family name of Damm? So it doesn't have any other meaning other than their family name. Can anyone hazard a guess as to what Estrella means?
Really good.
Isn't it? I think I know, but I might be being really smart, but I might be really obvious. Isn't it star?
It is star, correct.
Yeah!
10 points to Gryffindor.
Right. I'm definitely not a Gryffindor. I don't really know what.
No, you're a Hufflepuff, if anything. I've seen one.
Oh, just stop it, you now.
Right, so stars, as you can imagine, the star Damm, as a clunky translation into English. So you're looking on the bottle, one of their kind of key brand equities is a golden star that you can see. I've got the bottle here in my hand. You've got a star on the neck in the front and centre, and you've got a star above the Estrella Damm wordmark as well.
1876 on either side. So, that'll be the 140 years, I suppose.
Does the star stand for any, thing with, so many other breweries we've seen where it's like, the 5 ingredients equal the 5 points?
It will definitely be about the 5 ingredients. Now, importantly, what are the 5 ingredients? Because they're very proud of their ingredients. Actually, it's 4 ingredients, I've said. Yeah.
We've done this so many times. If any of us forget it, that's like punishable by death. One of them's water. I know that much.
Barley malt, rice, and hops.
That's it. And don't forget the yeast.
Yeah, it doesn't really work without yeast. I really thought you were going to say love that time.
Probably love has gone into this.
Yeah. It is, and they've actually gone into a bit more detail about their yeast. So their yeast is another ingredient that makes them unique. I'm reading directly from their website now. And we have been using the same strain for many generations. If it were lost or damaged, then the taste of Estrella beer would change. And this is why we have 3 reserves of this yeast, stored under the highest security in Barcelona, Valencia, and London.
Oh, really?
Oh, so they've got backups. So in case one store of the yeast goes down.
Now, I don't know if my penchant for action films is anything to lean me this way, but this sounds like the great setup for a heist.
We need to strike the yeast vaults in Barcelona, Valencia, and London at the same time if we're gonna get the immortal.
If anything, I know which team. It'd be the team from Fast and Furious, because Corona have set them up for this.
No.
Yeah. To steal the Corona's competitors.
Yeah.
No, it would be Ocean's 11. They're taking a very different turn.
Are we thinking a bit more sophisticated than the Fast and Furious team?
We're talking yeast here.
A bit more George Clooney.
Joe, can we, for the plot of this film, can we really spice it up by having the current in our own fictional world of Estrella, the CEO there being one brother and the head of the heist team being his brother, and then action.
If I'm honest, who was sprung to mind, if there's going to be a beer heist, it has to be Johnny Vegas who's leading this.
I like that idea a lot.
And for those unclear on Johnny Vegas, he's a British comedian who's well known for his antics on BBC and British panel shows, usually when he's a bit under the influence. But yeah, he's a national treasure in his own right, I'd say, Johnny Vegas.
Those pings you just heard were Netflix hitting our email inboxes really hard. We've digressed a little bit. Let's go back to Estrella Damm. I've been trying to flatter myself by pretending I can speak Spanish, and I've been saying Estrella rather than Estrella, but that's I end up just sounding like I'm saying Australia, and I'm slurring my words a little bit. Estrella, presumably they started out making Estrella Damm for local Catalans in Barcelona, but I guess I imagine, considering the many places you can get one these days, that they've now got a different owner than what was his name, August
Kustenplan.
So funny you mention that. Piecing this together, of course, when you start looking at like who owns Estrella Damm, and they actually do sell off their production, the brand, to different countries. So here in the UK, it's actually under the Carlsberg Marston's brewery company. So the new formulation of merger of Carlsberg and Marston's, but it still is. Traditionally, it's still owned by the original company, who called Sociedad and Anónima, are the people who brew Estrella Damm across the globe. And, they own Estrella Damm and they brew Estrella Levant as well. But you might have heard of Estrella Galicia, especially if you've been in Spain and you've tried this. It's more of a kind of a national drink, I think. And although it shares Estrella, the star part of the name of this beer, with Estrella, it's brewed by a completely different company. So that's sometimes a bit confusing about you see Estrella Galicia in a lot of places, advertised a lot in Spain, but it's nothing to do with this Sociedad Anónima.
So talking about drinks that Estrella Damm and that they have underneath their name. Joe, you'll probably remember this from when we were working together in Spain. They do a drink called the Damm Lemon, which is their version of a...
Dan Limon,
which is their version of like a shandy. And it's probably the same. It's a little bit less alcohol than this, but it is quite possibly, I'm gonna say it, my favourite alcoholic beverage that has ever graced the earth is a Damm Lemon brewed by these guys, and it's just cloudy lemonade with beer, but they do it so bloody well. It is out of this world.
It's amazing. It's the only through and through shandy drink that, you know, I can think of that's popular, that's so popular. Obviously, there are a lot of ready to drink and, you know, shandies in bottles, in cans that are out there. But Estrella Limon Damm Limon, is just, it's one of the best out there.
Bob, have you ever tried it?
Never ever been across I thought shandy is just what Sean Connery gets at the beach. I've never ever heard of Limon Damm, but the testament here is enough to make me try it on.
I tell you, next time we're all together and not doing this over Skype, I will attempt to get Damm Lemon from somewhere, because it is one of the greatest alcoholic beverages I've ever drunk.
I'm moved by your love for it, so it's got to be pretty good.
So there are actually quite a few different beers that have been that kind of fall under the Estrella Damm, or the Damm brand, I guess that they refer to it. So there's obviously Estrella Damm. There's Inadet, which is two different types of beer, which is kind of a barley malt and a wheat beer. So it's kind of a pale yellowish colour.
Just to go, I read a bit on the Inadet beer that it was brewed by a Michelin star chef.
Ooh,
and he brewed it for them. So he kind of did it off his own back, but then took it to Estrella and was like, look, we've made this and it's really good. So it's a bit more of a gourmet beer, shall we say.
And that chef's name was Ferran Adrià, if I'm reading this correctly, and he's a prestigious Catalan chef. I didn't know it was Michelin starred, though. That's interesting.
Ferran Adrià, doesn't he? Yeah, some people might have seen him. I'm pretty sure he's featured on, is it Chef's Table on Netflix? And to say he's big time is doing big time a favour.
It's big time. He's doing big time favour. You went Jamaican there.
They're all going to be saying that next week.
Bob, are you just getting in the mood for our Red Stripe episode that's upcoming?
Yeah.
Big time.
Big time.
Don't wait for that Jamaican accent.
Right, let's get back to these different beers, because there's quite a few on this list, so I'm going to rattle through these quite quickly. So we've got the next one. The Dora, which is a low gluten-free beer suitable for celiacs, they say. It was launched in 2006. The Voldam, which is it's a bitter hops in the brazier. It's kind of a bit more like, it comes a bit later in the fermentation process, so it's very bitter, is how they characterise it. Freedam, which is their 0% alcoholic version.
Like that one. That's good.
You've got the Zybeca, which is a mild and refreshing beer of Damm, already in the 1930s. It's a litre bottles of the Damm, so this is sold in the big the big litre bottles, this specific beer. We talked about that. The Block Damm, which is a black beer. AK Damm, which is launched in 2001 to celebrate the 125th anniversary and pay homage to the founder. There's an IPA called Damm Complot IPA. Malcorrida, which is a combination of the Ferran Albert Adrià, so those famous chefs that we just talked about before. So they created another one about specifically around Latin cuisine. Sounds quite interesting. And of course, they talk about Damm Limon, which I'm going to ask you this, guys. It's made of 6 parts. The Mediterranean beer, which is Estrella Damm, hops, malts, and rice, along with 4 parts of lemon and a touch of lime, apparently. So you could almost make your own Damm Limon at home.
Did you say rice?
Yeah.
Rice?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard rice being used in beer quite a lot. Actually, it's quite unusual to be used in a Mediterranean-style beer. It's usually, I hear rice being used in Southeast Asian beers.
Yeah.
A lot of rice-infused beers, like, we talked about the Asahi, which has got rice in it as well, the Japanese favourite.
Just total sidebar, I just know lots of people here in the Western world. I've just really weirdly in my personal life, I've heard lots of people talk about how they don't know how to cook rice recently, and I just think that's a dangerous component for a beer because no one knows how much water to put in.
Are you asking us how to cook rice?
No, I'm very confident in my own abilities to cook rice, but I keep hearing other people say they don't know how.
To keep going on this further tangent about rice. Obviously, we know of cooking rice. You put it in a pan.
Strap yourselves in, listeners.
A certain amount of rice, put a certain amount of water in, and kind of 10, 15 minutes. I think it's 15 minutes. You stir it around, whatever. Yeah. And it gets quite sticky.
He thinks there's a rice amateur over here.
But obviously, you've got to look to countries where rice is such an important part of their meals and their diets. You're thinking India, you're thinking Southeast Asia, specifically if you think about Japan and Korea, where rice is such a huge part of their diet. Have you guys ever had rice or, from a rice cooker before?
Yeah.
I've not to my knowledge.
Travis, you have?
Yeah.
And what was your thinking about these rice cookers?
They're pretty cool, but I wouldn't have one. I wouldn't have need for one in my life because I don't cook enough rice.
No.
Or eat enough rice.
I think a huge piece of information is about to.
No, I mean
land.
more. I was just saying how unbelievably amazing the rice is every time coming out of a rice cooker. And although, maybe I only eat rice maybe once a week, but God, if you're once a week, if you had a rice cooker, it's going to be spot on.
I think Drabbers, don't you do your rice in your air fryer?
I do bloody love my air fryer. But I was going to say, so my folks back home have a microwave rice cooker. So and you put water in the bottom and then rice in it and you microwave it. And that's the best rice I've had in England.
Interesting. In England,
yeah.
That's a good
Just
claim.
remind the listeners to tune into I'll Fry That, the up-and-coming rice podcast.
Where we talk anecdotally about how we can or can't cook stuff.
Week one, basmati. Week 2, jasmine rice. Week 3, this joke hasn't got the legs I thought it did.
Well, it's because you ran out of rice ideas.
Yeah, pretty much. Long grain rice.
Right, back to the beer. Rich, do you want to give us your first thoughts on the taste of this beer?
So, yeah, when I was thinking back, when we said we were going to do Estrella Damm, I remember back to when I first got it was back all the way in 2009, maybe, when I did my first season abroad in Spain. Never tried it, never seen it before, anything like that. And I remember going to the shop and it was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And I remember getting it, taking it back, sticking it in the fridge, chilling it, and then drinking it that day after work and thinking, wow, I love this beer. Like, it's just a solid drink. It's full-bodied. It feels a little bit heavier than most lagers and stuff you may get, sort of thing. But I put that down to just the way it's brewed and the way it's made. It's refreshing. I can drink a lot of it all day long. I can't get enough of it. It's a damn good beer.
See what you did there, Barbara. What's your take?
I would pretty much echo those sentiments. Yeah, I enjoy it very much. It's premium lager, isn't it? So it's probably not. It's not a far cry from Peroni, which we talked about recently as well. It equally, I think, as I said about Peroni at the time, I think I first had it when I was based in the UK, but like an Italian restaurant that they did it. And I think the first time I ever had Estrella was in a sort of imitation tapas bar, and I remember really liking the food. I think it's got a little bit more going on than your bog standard lagers. Very refreshing, and you could very happily sip it for an extended period, really. Yeah,
I mean, I think for the fact that this is a pale lager, it's classed as a pale lager, I think it's probably one of the most full-bodied pale lagers, multi-pale lagers that I've ever had. The fact that it fits into this category of pale is quite interesting as a lager. But just to mirror your sentiments, chaps, it's very quaffable. It feels really nice when you're taking it down. It's quite ambery. I think if you as an amber taste, you can probably already start to picture what that might be. It's got quite a lot of that malt barley comes through. It definitely doesn't kind of fade away quite quickly. It kind of stays and lingers around the palate a little bit more. But I think just to kind of really summarize, I guess, why this beer has been so popular for so many years, it's won over, countless awards, I say countless just because I don't want to count this list, the full number that I've got, but there is obviously a finite number of awards they've won and they know them. So it is countable, but I'm not doing it.
You're saying it's more than 7 then?
It's more than 7. But I'll give you my two favourite ones from this. So they've won so in 2015, they won the New York International Beer Competition for the Spain Brewery Awards. They won that one outright. They were the best Spanish brewery, according to the New York International Beer Competition. They've won the Chicago World Beer Championships, the silver medal. They've won the United Kingdom Great Taste Award, 1 star. And that was 2014. Now, their first award that they've got listed here is from 1904. Can anyone guess what this award was for?
Sorry, they got an award in 1904.
1904, and if you can give me I'll make this easier because the pronunciation, I'm going to butcher this, but can you give me a city who first awarded Estrella Damm this award? This first award that I'm reading from 1904. Can you have a guess?
Feeling Barcelona would be too obvious.
Yeah. Think about other great beer cities.
Munich.
Okay. Yeah, music's closer. You're still going further east from Munich.
Prague.
Oh, very close. I think you've gone too far.
Oh.
1904. So what's like a good centre of think about Central Europe. What's a big power at the time in 1904?
Vienna or Salzburg?
You nailed it with the first one. Vienna.
Yeah. Bam.
There you go. So their first award that they've listed that they've won, 1904, was in Vienna, and it was the Internationale Ausstellung der Gesellschaft von Blauen Kreis.
Nice. That's a...
I don't care how it's supposed to be said. That was way better.
Yeah. I really hope they pronounce it that way on the stage.
But yeah, so anyway, suffice to say, the taste itself is very interesting as a pale lager goes, and I'm using quotation marks for pale lager, although it technically classes it doesn't taste like a pale lager that you'd expect to hear or taste from the likes of Sol or, other kind of, I guess, kind of like Latin-inspired beers like Sol. It's definitely a more full-bodied experience. And it's backed up by the amount of awards that they've won.
Yeah, I feel validated in the opinion of it by hearing it's won all these awards.
Whilst we were talking about all of this, I've got an anecdote that involves Estrella, and it also involves Joe, and it involves Simo and myself.
Man, I feel left out.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Well, I think. Well, by the sound of things, we might have different reactions to this then, Barbara, depending on what Rich comes out with. Because I'm a bit hesitant as to what he's about to come and say.
I was there, Drabbers. I had the video camera. Remember?
Yeah. So this is when me, Joe, and Simo went on holiday to La Fosca. We took a week-long holiday to Spain to have a wonderful time. Me and Joe used to work there, and we went over there to go and see some friends and have a lovely time. And one day we decided we'd go to a place called Playa de Aro to have a few drinks, shall we say, throughout the day. And we were in our first place, and it was a place called Cactus Jack's. So a real authentic Spanish bar, you can tell. And we're all sitting outside, and they serve these big 5-litre towers of beer. And they've got like a cooling rod that goes down the middle of them, and you've got a tap, and you can pour your own beer, saves you going back and forth to get there. And we're like, yes, let's get one of these.
And how much does one of those towers cost?
It was like €20 or something like that. It was pittance.
Yeah. It worked out like €20 each, and you're going to get like 6 beers out of it. So the maths is on point for why you'd get one of these towers.
And so we got this big old tower, and we're like, yeah, we'll get one of those big old towers sort of thing. So we're all sitting outside in this nice sun's beating down sort of thing. We're all sitting there having a great old time. Bearing in mind, this is our first drink of the whole day, and it's probably about 11 o'clock, something like that. And we're all sitting there, and the woman comes over, and she's got this big old tower. She's carrying it over. She then drops this tower full of Estrella Damm, and it kind of hits the deck, bounces up, and Simo's sitting by it, and 5 litres of Estrella just goes boom all over Simo. And he's soaking wet, stinking of beer. We're nowhere near our hotel. We're nowhere near anything. And Simo's sitting there. And then the woman just picks it up and walks away and doesn't say a word. And Simo, and then comes back, Phil clearly fills it back up, puts the thing down and walks off, but doesn't acknowledge that she's covered Simo in beer.
Hard luck, mate.
Yeah. It was honestly such rotten luck. Any one of us could have been sitting in that exact seat. It just happened to be Simo. And to Richard's point, we were quite a long way away from the hotel. We'd specifically gone to Playa de Aro, taken cabs to get there, all this stuff. So he then spent the rest of the day just drying out in the sun, but stinking of beer. It was a whole day plan. Like we weren't going home until later in the evening.
I think it's less and less of a coincidence that Simo is not on this particular recording.
Yeah, no, he got the raw end of the stick with that one. Raw end of the Estrella Damm, tower of that one. But either way, it didn't. I think the Estrella, it didn't dampen his mood want a better word. And he took it on the chin. It was good. But going back to, like, I guess being in Catalonia or being in Spain, it's in the Barcelona region itself, it feels like Estrella Damm sponsors the entirety of Catalonia. Like, you can't go anywhere without seeing their branding on absolutely everything. It's like you walk into into Catalonia, you get off your flight in the Costa Brava or Barcelona, wherever you're going in the Catalonia area, and you just are like, okay, Estrella Damm is what I need to be purchasing and sipping whilst I'm here. It's the local drink.
Yeah, I've noticed just one other thing. I mean, I know we're probably, before we finish off, we'll always do the numbers for Instagram and Twitter. They've got a lot of media for people to engage with as well. Have you seen their films they've put together?
No, tell us.
Yeah, I'd spotted one before. I think they must have used it on their sort of TV advertising here in the UK. There was just a little short film with Peter Dinklage of Game of Thrones fame. Yeah. Just pair of aviators on, driving a muscle car. What it was about, I'm not entirely sure, because I think a lot of these films are pretty arty. I mean, Barcelona is the city of Gaudi, isn't it? So some of it will be a little bit of that, maybe that high art feel. But there's all sorts. There's one entitled Lovers, and there seems to be a bit of a vibe around diving, and I think Joe, you said when you got on the website there was an awful lot of stuff about squid, octopuses, and all sorts. But that's sort of out there. Presumably that's not just saying to people, come and buy our beer, come and watch these sort of creative partnerships we're putting together.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you get on their website, it feels quite Peroni-esque in that they're selling the lifestyle of, the region rather than the beer itself. And you have to kind of dig through the as you say, the kind of the microbiological, images. I mean, Instagram is it looks like you're just looking at the National Geographic website on Instagram. Like, it's just all these photos of marine biology, and it's not actually, you can't really see a bottle of beer until much later down in the page. But I guess to kind of really round this off about how Estrella Damm is this beer producing juggernaut. They refer to the fact that their beer has spent 1 week in fermentation tanks and 2 in aging tanks. And that's how they say they guarantee a perfect result. They've invested very heavily in the bottling technology to combat what they refer to the great enemies of a beer taste, which is oxidation and microbiological contamination. And they've invested heavily in the bottle itself. Now, Barbara, did you want to talk a bit about the bottle itself?
Oh, yeah. This was about the change in the... They've got a changing... They've changed the bottle, the glass in particular. If you look at how it had previously been, it's still the sort of iconic brown. But basically, it's almost as if they've dialed up the opaqueness, for want of a better word. It used to be quite clear. And it's because of how significant, I suppose, the impact of... harmful at all light can be if you shine through.
It's that light sunshine, like rays, basically light rays change the what's inside these bottles. So they've increased the darkness of these bottles by 30%, haven't they, to protect against these harmful lights?
Yeah, and indeed, I mean, I was almost going to say actually that sort of lighter, clearer bottle, and you can sort of see the light shining through. It kind of does look quite appealing, but again, that's you got to bear in mind that's a very superficial thing, and they're doing it to preserve the
exactly. And also, it speaks to we've said how this is an amber lager, but it's quite a malty amber lager. So actually, the darker color of the bottle it kind of reinforces that proposition that it's a more full bodied malty beer. So Instagram, I'm looking at their Estrella Damm Instagram. They have 221k followers.
Nice.
Again, follow these guys if you want to see a load of Mediterranean marine biology, because it's got whales and boats and nothing to do with beer that I could see. And then Estrella Damm UK on Twitter has 13.4k followers as well. Now that has a bit more about arts and crafts and drinking Estrella and the beer itself, but definitely pairing it with Mediterranean food as well. All in all, to sum it up, if you're looking for they refer to themselves as the Mediterranean beer, and you're looking for a more full-bodied lager experience, then you definitely have to be trying Estrella Damm.
And if you get your hands on it, Damm Lemon.
Damm Lemon. And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo.
Goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter.
I'll try that podcast.com.
And watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.